Two officer suicides this week are drawing attention to the New York City Police Department. This week's suicides are part of what the commissioner is calling a crisis. In total, 9 NYPD officers have taken their lives so far this year. CBS News Chief Justice and Homeland Security correspondent Jeff Pegues has more on this crisis.
My wife has been my rock. It's been hard.
Doug Budney's son, Nick, was a New York City police officer for 14 years. He took his own life last year.
We don't know why Nick did what he did. A lot of it had to do with the stress of the work things that he's seen.
The NYPD has seen 9 deaths by suicide this year alone, 7 since June. Last year, there were 4 total. Police Commissioner James O'Neill.
It's beyond a challenge, it's a crisis. You think, that, okay, this is going to be the last one, and last night, got a phone call, and it just almost knocked me down. It just took the wind right out of me. I just, what the hell's going on here?
At least 124 officers nationwide have taken their lives this year. In 2017, at least 140 officers died by suicide, compared to 129 who died in the line of duty. Departments in Chicago, Arizona, and New York are adding more counselors to deal with the crisis.
Just think about the cumulative trauma that police officers are exposed to each and every day, and how does that manifest itself? We need to change the culture. We need to make sure that our police officers have access to mental health care so they can keep themselves well and do the job that they want to do. We just have to make sure that people know the help is out there.
All right, so Jeff Pegues is joining me now. I'm really happy that you're doing this story, Jeff. I mean, obviously, here in the news, we cover, the police on the job, and sometimes it's some negative coverage, sometimes it's some positive coverage. But this really sort of shines a spotlight on the amount of pressure that officers are under right now. You've got some statistics: 124 suicides nationwide this year, 9 of them just here in New York. What do those numbers mean to you?
Well, clearly there is a problem here in New York, and the commissioner acknowledged that in our interview, and he was so emotional in that interview. I'd never seen him that way. So this is a topic that really, hits at the core of who he is, not only as a man, but also as a police officer. He is someone who's risen through the ranks there, and so this is a really tough issue for him. And what they're trying to do is expand the safety net for these officers. But, the challenge is, just as it is elsewhere in society, how do you get people to come forward and admit that they're not perfect, that they have problems, that they need help? So that is something that I think not only the NYPD is dealing with, but police departments across the country on this issue.
Is there a challenge when it comes to the culture of the police department, or concern that if you go to a counselor, well, people are going to think, oh, he's not really stable enough to be out there on the street with a gun? Well,
yeah, that's an issue. When you have a job like that, that is certainly an issue. In fact, the police union came out yesterday with frankly, what was a profanity-laced statement saying that, it was critical of how the city has responded to this crisis, but also how the NYPD, it says, destroys the careers of officers who seek help. Now, they didn't offer any evidence of that, nor have we seen any. But this is the point that they were trying to make, that, so what happens when these officers come forward and admit that they are having problems on the job? And that is an issue that, frankly, the NYPD is going to have to grapple with as it moves forward, trying to, get the message across to the rank and file that we are here to help you, and you won't face any type of retaliation if you come forward and say that I need help.
I don't think anyone would argue the point that being a police officer is probably one of the most stressful jobs, particularly in a big city. So is this a new problem?
It's not a new problem. What is at issue here is the frequency of these suicides, especially in New York City. So what that has done is highlight this problem among law enforcement, again, not just here in New York City, but across the country. So all of these departments across the country and law enforcement leadership across the country is trying to figure out, well, how do we handle this? How do we deal with this? How do we help these officers who, if you look at policing today, it is more stressful than ever. And, we talk to people who've lost lost loved ones to
why is
suicide.
that?
Well, listen, I mean, they're responding. They're busier than ever. They're responding to more calls than ever. If you talk to the rank and file, they'll say, well, the public does not respect us as they used to, you know, and that is perhaps having an impact. Everybody has cell phones all over the place recording their every move. So yeah, they are under pressure more than ever before. Is there also, though, an aspect of salary combined with this issue, you know, this push for overtime? In fact, the police union is saying, listen, pay us what we want. You know, and then you alleviate the pressure on these men and women to get that overtime to essentially pay their bills. So is that an aspect of this as well? You know, there's so many different questions at this point. It's hard to pinpoint any one solution, but that's what they're trying to find is a solution to this crisis.
It's all really, really interesting, and I'm glad we are talking about it. Thank you very much, Jeff. So, if you're someone, or if you know someone who's thinking about suicide, you know, you need emotional support. Here's how you can get it. The Lifeline Network is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All you have to do is call 1-800-273-8255 to speak to someone. That is 1-800-273-TALK, or you can find them at suicidepreventionlifeline.org.